Hello, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Lynn. I am a customer service representative here at WarmlyYours, and today I am joined by.
Scott from Warmly Yours, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be talking today about planning for your next floor heating project or just kind of your heating project. So we're going to be going over our quote building tool on our website today. I'm actually going to pull up and screen share our website so you can kind of go through us with us step by step to see exactly how to use this tool to really get a good idea of what your next project is going to entail. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. You can do so either in that sidebar chat or in the Ask a Question module at the bottom of the screen. Either way, if we don't get to it right away, we'll see it and get to it by the end of today's presentation. Oh, moving too fast. Here we go. All right, so let me get our website all pulled up here. Give me one quick moment. And there we go. So on our website, we do have a lot of information, not just tools that you can use for planning, but we just have a lot of information on all of our products. All of our products have the specs available on the website on their individual pages. We also have things like blog posts and videos. So if you go to the Explore tab, you'll really be able to see all of our past webinars, which are often hosted by me and Scott. You can watch those on there. You can watch, again, some videos on installation, on things like that, on some troubleshooting, as well as lots of blog posts to learn just a little bit more about electric heating in general. So it's a really great, I like to call it like a treasure trove of information. Anything you could ever want to know about electric heat, electric radiant heat, you're really going to find here. So one of the things that we utilize the most is our different tools on our website, and it's also what we recommend that you utilize a lot, because it's going to give you a really good idea before even getting started with your project exactly what it's going to entail. So again, if you go to that tools tab, you'll see that we have quite a few options. We have our build a quote option, which is what we're going to be going over in depth today. We also have things like running cost calculators and heat loss calculators so that you can know before, ever starting installation, before ever purchasing your products, how much it'll cost to run, how much you'll need to be able to heat the space. So it's going to really give you a good overview of your project in general.
Before we leave
So,
this spot, before we leave
yes.
this spot, I would like to bring up, if you're a professional and you have a customer who wants to think about maybe doing floor heating as a sole source of heating, meaning I want to put this in my floor, will it be warm enough? We will always recommend you do the heat loss calculator, because the heat loss calculator will tell you how many BTUs your room needs. And then once you know that, you can figure out, hey, is the floor heating enough BTUs to act as the sole source of heat there? So please remember that when we're not talking about it today, but please remember the heat loss calculator when you're interested in doing sole source of heating. Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we're going to be going over our instant quote builder tool today. And so that is the top one right here. It's build a quote, and you'll choose between floor heating or snow melting. So today we're going to be going over the quote builder for floor heating. So reasons that you may want a quote, a lot of people, kind of don't think it's that important, especially if it's a pretty simple project. But really, these are designed to be used as is. You can't really cut them to size, our heat mats or our heat cables. They can't be cut, they can't be lengthened or shortened, altered on site. So you really need to ensure that you're getting the size that you need when you place your order, which is where this comes into play. The size of the project is also going to really dictate a lot of the electrical needs that you'll want to make sure that you have available, the power available, make sure that your electrician is on board, and also your product needs, again, so you can see exactly, which products from us you'll need to purchase to get the coverage that you're looking for.
Yeah, one thing I'd
Um,
like to add. One thing I'd like to add is I work in the tech support department, and you would be amazed at the number of people that call us every day and say, "Can I cut my mat short?" or "Can I cut my cable short? I ordered too much." And what we're doing here is this is a way to find out the right amount to order, so you don't get too much, because you cannot buy a giant spool, use a half of it, cut it off, and then use it in another room. You have to use the entire product you're shipped. You can't get a big one and cut it and make it fit, because it will not work. So you cannot alter the length of the heating cable or the heating rolls. Whenever we talk about doing an installation with our temp zone rolls, we're cutting the mesh. We're never ever cutting the cable. You can never ever shorten the cable. So that's why we're going to all this trouble, is to make sure that you get the correct size in your room. It's always better to have a little too little than it is to have a little too much, because you can't cut the cable. So also, if you ever have a doubt, we're going to talk about a little bit later about how to send us a sketch of your space to get an installation plan done for you. Usually we do it overnight, and it is free. Best thing about the installation plan is it will tell you the amps that you're going to be having in the floor, how many breakers you need, what the wattage is. All that information will be included in that plan, and it's free. So you might as well get it. All you have to do is just wait one day, and you'll usually have it the next day. So just want to make sure we talked about that. And also, when we're getting ready to do this demonstration on our website here, please note that our software that we use for the presentation doesn't let us do drop downs. So you'll see right here on this screen, Lynn has got the enviable task today if she's driving. So she will have to tell you what each drop down says, because it will not display there. So just wanted to preface that, Lynn, so you're not, the people are going, what in the world is being clicked on there? I can't tell. So go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. I always forget on your end, you can't see what I'm seeing necessarily here. And again, I want to kind of say, one thing about this tool that we really recommend using it is because it's free, it's not going to cost you anything, and it's really, really quick. It's not going to be some really, time consuming task. So if you want to go play with this yourself on WarmlyYours.com, if you want to see what I'm seeing more, obviously feel free to play around with our quote builder tool. If you do have a pricing program with us, if you're a trade professional who's worked with us before, you can log into your account and you'll see your discounts. Otherwise, again, this tool is free to use, and you're not going to need to log into an account or create an account or anything like that. You can just kind of play around with it as much as you'd like. So starting out, you want to tell us what kind of room you're going to be heating. One of the main, or actually what I should touch on before we even get into that, is making sure that before you even start the quote builder, that you have the measurements or the dimensions of the room, and that you have an idea of what your desired heating coverage is. This way you can just easily add that to the quote builder, and it'll give you the information you need on which products and which product sizes you need. You also want to keep in mind any electrical limitations you might have. Maybe you only have a 120, you can only do 120 volt. Maybe you can only do 240 volt. Maybe, you can't have something that's over a certain amperage. You just want to be careful, kind of aware at least of what any electrical limitations may be, and we'll be able to help you out with that if you need it.
And one thing when we're in the middle of doing this also, especially if you've never done indoor floor heating yourself, don't try to figure everything out yourself. Like, what size do I put in here? How many amps do I need? Whenever you see a drop down that has let us decide on it and you've never done it before, please let us decide, because we do hundreds of these a day and we do thousands of them a year. So we know what works. We're the experts when it comes to doing floor heating. So if you're not an expert, then feel free to lean on us, because we are, and we'll do that design for you and we'll figure it out. You don't need 240 volts for a small room. 240 is no more efficient than 120. You do not want 240, 220, whatever you call it in your locality. You do not want that in a small room, because it uses 2 breaker instead of 1 breaker space. So there's really no need for 240 unless you're going over 150 square feet. And we'll get going on that a little bit in a little bit here, but we just want to kind of get that common misconception out of the way now, because we're not going to default to 240. We're going to default to 120 as long as it's under 120 square feet. And most master bathrooms are 50, 60, 70 square feet at the biggest. So keep that in mind. There's no need to go 240. You're saving a breaker space by doing that. So go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great information to have. So like I said, we're going to start with the type of room. All of these questions are just going to help us kind of figure out specifically which products will work best for your project. So knowing the type of room is going to give us a kind of good overview of what this project might entail. So when I click on this drop down, it gives lots and lots of options. I'm not going to list off every single one, but really common ones are bathrooms, bedrooms, entryways or hallways, family rooms, living rooms, kitchens. We even have kind of niche rooms like a breakfast nook, an addition or an ensuite. So whatever you have as a room, whatever you're planning on heating, will have something that will fit that as the room type.
So when we get started here, it's like when you go to a submarine shop, they're going to ask you, your first question is, what kind of bread do you want? Because they're going to be making you a sandwich. And that's what we are asking you here. We're making a sandwich. You're telling us what's on the top, what your flooring is. You're telling us what's on the bottom, what your subfloor is. And then we're going to fill in the part in the middle. So we're asking you for the bread now. How about that?
That is a great analogy. I like that a lot. So telling us the bottom of your sandwich would be the subfloor, like Scott had said. So that's going to be either wood, existing concrete slab, or a newly poured indoor concrete slab. And can you kind of tell us, Scott, the reason why we ask for subfloor and what each one kind of entails?
Because concrete, if you have an existing concrete slab, the existing concrete slab is going to try to pull the heat down into the slab instead of letting it go to where your feet are. You're not going to pay for a brand new floor heating system and have all the heat stuck in the floor. You want it to come into the room and onto your feet. So we need to know, is it an existing slab or is it wood? Because you heat them two different ways. So it's going to be very, very important to do that. So we always are going to want to always want to sell a thermal break like Cerazorb, which is synthetic cork. We want to put that between the cable and the slab. Now, if you're making a slab, if it's a fresh build, you're putting a concrete slab in, and you're going to be using a polished concrete surface, which means you're not going to be putting any flooring on top of the slab. It's just going to be a heated slab. We're going to heat that with slab heating cables. But if you have a concrete slab that's already there, you want to heat the inch above it. You don't want to heat 4 inches or 6 inches of slab plus the flooring. So now you're getting into 6 or 7 inches thickness. We want to heat 1 inch because it's going to heat much faster. It's going to be much less expensive to heat, and it's going to get warmer. So that's why we need to know, are we doing slab heating cables because we're polishing the concrete? There's not going to be any flooring. Or are we using a slab that's already there? Because if we do, we want to put Cerazorb over the top of it first before we put our heat. And then if it's wood, it's going to be a completely different monster. And a wood subfloor is usually on the second floor. So you might not have to have as many watts per square foot up there too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something to consider. There's just a lot of information that we can get from the type of subfloor that you have. So next question is going to be the type of flooring, or like Scott said, the top of your sandwich. And really, this is going to determine the type of system that we'll be quoting for you. Certain systems of ours are designed to go under certain types of flooring. So you want to make sure you're getting the one that is designed and rated for the flooring you'll be putting down. Some of the options that we have on here are tile, LVT, laminate wood, kind of however you're going to be installing it, clicked together, glued together, nailed, anything like that. We have that for laminate wood and engineered wood. And then we also have the options for hardwood, carpet, and bamboo. So pretty much, again, whatever kind of flooring you're going to be installing will have something that is, if not the exact same type, of very similar type that you can begin getting your quote for.
And one thing to bring up on that, Lynn, is LVT is not heated with the same product that you do laminate. So
yes.
in the old days, all you had was laminate. You chose laminate because we would use our Environ product, which was simply on top of a pad, Environ, and then the floating floor. Well, LVT isn't the same as laminate, so we have to heat it a different way using our temp zone product for tile and embedding that. So you may think that LVT and laminate are the same because they float in most cases, but that is not the case. And we get that question all of the time. So that's why we wanted to make sure we brought it up right here.
Absolutely. Thomas asked in the sidebar chat, and I just want to get to that real quick while we're kind of on the topic. He said, for note purposes, can someone tell me the name of the underlayment that needs to go over the concrete slab? That's Cerazorb. Actually, I'm going to type that for you because it is spelled kind of interestingly. That's Cerazorb. That's our synthetic cork. So that's going to be the option that we always recommend when you are installing over an existing slab. So jumping back into this, we're going to say, let's say tile today, Scott.
Yeah.
All right, and then we're going to put in a heated area. Now, keep in mind, this is not the actual square footage of the room or the total square footage of the room. This is the square footage that you want heated. Generally speaking, only about 80% of any room is going to be heated for a couple different reasons. One being it's often not necessary to heat, or usually not necessary to heat up against the wall. Since you're not standing with your feet directly against the wall, we can usually allow for a perimeter that is non-heated around the edges of the room. The other reason is that you're going to have if you're going to have, I'm not telling you you have to, if you're going to have any kind of, heavy bottomed furniture like bookcases, cabinets, anything that is going to be coming through the floor vents, toilets, even things that are very low lying to the floor, like a low lying couch. You want to make sure you're heating around those areas and that you're not heating underneath them. So that's just something to consider again when you're kind of thinking about what the actual square footage that you'll be heating will be.
You have to keep
Scott,
in mind that the National Electric Code does not allow heating under permanent fixtures. So that's
yes.
another thing. That's why 20%, that's where 20% of your space in that room is going to go. Permanent fixtures, air vents. If you're doing plans, always remember to put the air vents or any posts that might be in the room, especially if you're doing a basement, because a basement, it has support posts, you have to go around them and you can't count that as square footage. So it's those kind of things that you need to think of what would interrupt the floor surface. And that's about that 20%.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. So jumping into the heated area coverage, you can put this in either as the square footage or as a length by width. We can do the calculation for you.
Put 80
Scott,
in
how
there,
many?
would you? Put 80.
80?
80
Awesome. So I
square
was going
feet.
to ask. 80 square feet. And again, this kind of explains the 80% down here as well. Also, just something else to touch on, you can upload a sketch or a floor plan, or you can design your room from here. So if you would rather, just kind of send that in to us right away, we can definitely get started on that installation plan and quote for you that way. So let's say 80 square feet, like you said, we'll save it to the quote, and then it will auto-populate what it believes the full room area to be. Generally, it's about 20% more than what we put in. Do you want to leave that at 96
Yeah.
square feet,
Mhm.
Scott? All right,
Sure.
awesome. And then you'll put in your installation zip code. This is going to help for two reasons. One being if you are in our area, we do offer installation and troubleshooting services, so we would be able to offer you our assistance. And if you're also, it's going to tell us kind of where you're located. If you're somewhere, way up north, maybe Fargo, North Dakota versus Miami, Florida, you're going to be probably having some different heat needs. So it's good to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at or what we'll be working with in terms of just the ambient temperature, the regular, atmosphere of the space you're at. So let's say, I don't even know. Do you know what our zip code is, Scott?
60047. Or we could do what we did in the old days and just put 90210. That's always a good one, but then it'd be California. So you don't.
I wish it'd be warmer there. All right. So
Here
looking
we
at our,
see, here we see these, Lynn, the let us choose, let us choose, let
yes.
us choose.
Yes, and if that's an option and you don't have a specific reason to pick one of these advanced options, it's much easier to just let us choose and we'll be able to help you out from there. So it will ask for the system voltage like we had touched on earlier, 120 or 240. It does give you the option to check this box here. This is going to quote in stock items only. So this is going to be if you need to get this shipping out right away, it's only going to quote items that are basically ready to go. Generally speaking, we have almost everything in stock most of the time, so it's pretty rarely an issue that you need to get something out right away and we don't have it. But again, it's better to be safe than sorry.
One thing
And
about
then
that, Lynn, is you're not going to have to wait for something to be custom made for you, because what we do is we have stock sizes that we fill into your space. That's the secret to being able to ship the day you order it. You don't have to wait for something to be custom made. You get a custom design using using an in-stock product. That allows us to do a custom installation plan for you, but ship it the day you order it 9 times out of 10. So that's very, very
absolutely.
important. So that this is quote in stock items only is when you're kind of in an emergency. I need to order this stuff today. And, if you wanted it shipped overnight, you could have it done that way too. That's where you're going to get the in stock items only. But 99 times out of 100, we're going to have the stuff. So you don't even really need to worry about it. The next thing I want to talk about is the next one down, and that's the uncoupling membrane. We've been in this business for a really long time, and we are experts at doing floor heating. So we know how to heat different types of surfaces with different types of products. Some companies out there only have one way to install heat, and you have to do all of your installations following their one method of heating. So knowing that is uncoupling membranes are not needed for every floor. Uncoupling membranes are not needed for floating floors. Some companies would sell you a floating membrane an uncoupling membrane because that's the only way they have to heat something. But we don't force you to spend that extra money on an uncoupling membrane. There's no need to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a membrane when you're doing a floating floor. It just doesn't make any sense. So we don't make you buy it that way, because we have alternate ways to install our heating cable, or under laminate product, or under carpet in the US. So it's very, very important that you don't spend the money that you don't need to spend, because you don't need to worry about tiles cracking or grout lines cracking when you have laminate or carpet. You don't need that. So you don't need to buy a membrane for that type of stuff. So just let us know that, and don't check that unless you say, I want to make sure that I'm doing a tile floor, and I want to make sure that I don't get any uncoupling here. I don't get any cracks and stuff like that.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, it's definitely great if you are doing tile, though.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at cable spacing, again, let us choose if you are unsure, if there's not a specific reason you would need it changed. Our general on our rolls, on our maps, I should say, and our general kind of recommendation tends to be about 3-inch spacing. But again, we can update that as needed for you. So it's going to give you the option of doing 3, 4, or 5-inch spacing. And then it's also going to give you the option for choosing your spacing if you are using an uncoupling membrane. So if you're going to be using a Ditra membrane, your options are 3.5 or 4.75. And if you're going to be doing inches, and if you're going to be doing Prodeso, which is our membrane, you're going to be doing either 3.75-inch runs or 5-inch runs.
Can we talk about cable spacing real quickly?
Absolutely.
So cable spacing, the closer the cables are together, the more watts per square foot you get. Certain rooms need more watts per square foot than others do. And certain rooms want a certain type of flooring as opposed to another type of flooring. So let's talk about very easy. A lot of people have unheated crawl space, and they have a second floor bathroom over a kitchen. A floor over an unheated crawl space is going to require more watts per square foot than a second floor above a heated area is going to need. This bathroom on the second floor, the floor is going to start at 71 or 72 degrees. The floor downstairs over the unheated area in the Midwest could be 30 degrees or could be 45 degrees. So there's a big difference there. You want a lot fewer watts per square foot upstairs over a heated area than you want down on the ground floor, which is on a slab or on an unheated area. You want more watts per square foot there. You want the cables closer together. You want more heat downstairs on that cold surface than you need upstairs. So if you know that you're going to be working upstairs and you want to buy a Prodeso membrane, which is what we sell to go under tile, then what you can do is you can choose one of the wider spacings if that room floor is already going to start warm. So that's why we ask that question. Another thing is when we're asking you what kind of room are you choosing, a lot of people sometimes will do like a 3-season room on the back of their house, and they want to heat that with floor heating. Well, more power to you. But let's talk about what product you should choose when you're trying to heat something as a sole source or an additional source of heating in a room that needs a lot of heat, like a 3-season room does, because usually there's a bunch of windows there, and a lot of times it's on a concrete slab, and those are all heat loss. That's where the heat is escaping. We call those heat loss monsters because they're chewing up all the heat that the floor can make, and they're stealing it from the room. So what you have to watch out for is if you're doing a 3-season room and you want it to be warm, you would rather choose tile than choosing LVT or choosing laminate or choosing carpet. And the reason why is because carpet, laminate, LVT are products that have a maximum temperature requirement. You cannot go over a certain temperature. So carpet could be 82, it could be 84, it could be 79, whatever that manufacturer says, and you cannot let the floor get hotter than that to keep your warranty. Well, Would you rather start with a floor that starts at 70, that can go up to 79, or would you rather have a floor that, like tile, which you could actually heat into the hundreds without any problem? So which one is going to deliver more heat into that 3-season room? Tile will, because it can go way past 85 degrees and it can add more heat into that space. But these floors that have limited temperatures like LVT, laminate, and carpet, those will not deliver as much heat into that space. So it's very, very, we get that question all the time. I'm thinking of doing a 3-season room. Here's what you should do. Try to do tile if you can, because you're going to get more heat out of tile. You can do the others, but just keep in mind you're using a throttled back product, that we are throttling it back because the manufacturer of the laminate says you can't go over 84 degrees. Okay, fine, we'll do that. That's why we ask these questions.
Yes, that is a really good point. Awesome. Okay, where are we here? All right, I think we are ready to begin kind of building our own system, correct?
Yeah, let's build it.
All right, so you click Get Quotes, and what it's going to do is, I like to call this kind of a choose your own adventure. You're going to really be able, or like Scott said, maybe the fillings of the sandwich. So you're going to be able to really pick your heating system, and you can learn a lot about each one available. So click through, and you'll be able to pick between each option. It's going to show you how the price would change, as well as the coverage. So if we are looking at a temp zone flex roll, it'll give you the price right here. It'll show you an installation video that you can watch, so you can kind of get an idea of what the project would entail installation-wise. And then it'll also tell you what the item actually is, including the part number and a lot of the specs like the coverage. So you can go through again and kind of learn more about each one and see, if you're doing Predesso, you're going to get 100% coverage here. You're going to be costing, it's going to be costing about 10 cents an hour roughly to run. If you were doing the temp zone cable, just loose, stringing it back and forth on the floor, you can watch a video of that being installed there. And then that's going to give you about 94% coverage and cost about 12 cents an hour. So again, you can kind of go through and choose what is most important to you. If pricing is most important, if you're on a pretty tight budget, going with the temp zone cable and saving a little bit of money but having a little bit more of a labor intensive install might be the best option.
Well, look at this. If you look at the prices here, you can see that some companies only have one way to deliver heat to a room, and we don't. We have multiple ways to do that. So if you're not going to be using tile, there's no reason for you to be spending $977 on a product with membrane. You don't need the membrane. You can use the cable and strips and save yourself $300 off of a price that other companies would say, no, you need to do it this way. And the reason why you need to do it that way, because that's the only way they sell it. We can sell you the same area for less cost because you don't need a membrane for every floor. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, is the most efficient way to do it and the most cost-effective way. And think about when you're purchasing it at the beginning, the smaller area you heat, the less the product costs and the less expensive it is to run. So you just keep that in mind as you're going along too. That was where your spacing comes from. Once you get really acclimated to this program, if you do, I'm going to do 3-inch spacing, and then I'm going to do 4.75. And you can look at the price difference. You can look at the cost of operation difference and that sort of thing. So it lets you really play inside your budget to see how you can do that heat in the fastest way possible.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it really is a really great tool to, make sure that you're looking over. I like the specs especially. You're going to really be able to see what your system's going to be like. So moving on to controls, you do have the option to use your own. You want to make sure that the thermostat that you're planning on using is a line voltage control with a GFI integrated inside, GFI protection integrated in it. This way it's going to be compatible with our systems, and you'll be sure that you're not going to, end up with any kinds of problems down the road.
When you're thinking about buying a control, not only do you want to ask the manufacturer of your flooring what the maximum temperature is, but you also want to ask them, first of all, is the product I'm interested, is it covered under warranty if I heat under it? Because obviously you want to choose something that has a warranty when you heat underneath it. And also, not only you're going to ask, what's the maximum temperature, you also want to ask, is this flooring type am I allowed to do a setback temperature? Can I go from 84 degrees during the day down to 70 at night? That's like 15 degrees difference. Am I allowed to do that? Some manufacturers of like engineered flooring or laminate or something like that will say, no, you can't have a temperature swing more than 3 degrees every day. Well, that would mean you'd go to 85 down to 82. That's as much as you can. There's no setback allowed. So that's going to also help you choose your thermostat, because that first one right there, you see the Entrust non-programmable thermostat. That's the one where you set it at a temperature and you keep it there. That's what a lot of flooring of hardwood flooring people require. No setbacks, raise it 2 or 3 degrees a day, and that's it. So there's no need to buy a programmable thermostat because you can't program it. It has to be set to a temperature and keep it there the whole time. So that's why we're asking, that's why you need to think about, what am I heating? Am I allowed to do a setback temperature? Because if I can't, there's no need to even worry about programmability. I'm just going to choose this non-programmable thermostat. So get as much information about the flooring you want to use as you can ahead of time, because that's going to tell you what you're going to be choosing to heat it with.
Yes, absolutely. Really great point. So we talked about, you brushed on the non-programmable option. If you click on that, again, same as above, you're going to end up with some information here showing with the actual item itself, the item number or part number, and then some of the specs or the information about each thermostat that's available. So we have that non-programmable option. We do have, this is our most popular, is our Inspire Touch. It's a programmable thermostat with a touch screen. It's really, really user-friendly, really simple to set up and program. So it's a great option there if you're going to be putting in a system. If you're going to be putting in a system that you'd like to make a little, we usually consider the Inspire Touch to be making your system smart, since you'll be able to program it. But if you really want to go with the full smart home experience, you could also use our Inspire Touch Wi-Fi. So this is going to have all the features of the Inspire Touch, but it's also going to give you Wi-Fi options as well, so that you can control the app through your phone, and it'll give you a weather indicator, so you can kind of see what it's like outside and how that may end up affecting your floor heating. You may want to turn it up or down based on that. So again, you can have many people on the account. You can control multiple thermostats through that Wi-Fi, or through that app rather. So if that's something that you're interested in, I know my husband loves the smart home thing. Every single product in our house is smarter than me, and I don't like it. So if it comes down to personal preference at that point, how you'll be utilizing your system.
Lynn, we have a question from Rick, and
Yes.
Rick is talking about, what is the coverage referring to in the product description above? So can you go back up there again real quick and look?
Absolutely. So I'm assuming this is what we're talking about here, the 94% coverage. Gotcha. Do you want to go into that, Scott, what that coverage means?
Well, when we're doing Prodeso, when you're doing a tile floor and you want to do Prodeso, you want the uncoupling membrane, keep in mind that we are going to be putting the uncoupling membrane across the entire floor in that room, wherever we can get it. So it will be covering 100% of the space, because you want that Prodeso membrane to be across the entire space, because that's going to make everything on the same height level. Also, if you're going to be putting Cerazorb down on a concrete slab, and you've ripped it down to the studs, you want to make sure you put the Cerazorb across the entire area to keep your area flat, or do Cerazorb where the heated area is and a 1/4 inch backer board around the perimeter that won't be heated. That'll allow you to keep your floor heights all the same. So remember, we never really go 100% coverage. There's no way to literally go right up to the studs all the way around. This is just going to be, once again, these are generalities. These are just going to be estimations, because we don't have a plan here. We don't even have dimensions. We don't even have what's in this room. We don't have toilets. We don't have refrigerators, depending on what room you're in, or fireplace, or a big air vent. So all that stuff isn't in there. This is just a generality, just showing you. So I would take these with a grain of salt, these coverage areas, but just keep in mind about, hey, I need to, Cerazorb is going to go across the entire room. Prodeso is going to go across the entire room. So it'll be 100% coverage of Prodeso, and maybe 80% coverage with the cable itself. And that's
Yes.
where the plan is going to come in. Once you get the plan from us, it'll show you exactly where the heat is. It'll show you exactly what the product is and exactly how many amps, all that other stuff. This is generalities right here. But that's a great question, Rick.
Yes, thank you for that. All right, so we went over our thermostat options, and then if you go to show more, it's just going to give you all of our different color options for our Inspire Touch. They do come in black and white, and then quite a few different crystal varieties as well. So if you want to make your system a little bit more unique and customized to your, your home decor, then you can definitely go with the crystal options as well. So moving on to installation kits, this is completely optional. Again, you can use your own or you can get them from us. Essentially, this is going to just be a few things that you could use to do the installation if you just want to get them all, in one package instead of having to make a separate trip to Home Depot. So same concept, feel free to click through if you're interested in using some of our tools and see what each kit offers and see how it affects the price down here. I'm going to say use my own here. I think most people tend to, especially if it's, a contractor, if you've been doing lots of tiling, I'm pretty sure you have the tools you need to get your job done.
Lynn, could you just click on the floor installation kit gold or yeah, if you look at there, you see a lot of plastic and a lot of rubber. And there's a reason behind that, because you want to try to minimize the amount of metal trowels and metal floats and stuff like that when you're working with electric heating wire. So you'll notice a lot of this stuff is plastic, because plastic will, Thomas says, we see your camera, but not your screen. But I see your screen. So maybe Thomas, that anybody else having a problem with that? Or just Olivia says she can see the screen. So Thomas, you might have a connection issue right now or something, but thank you for letting us know. But that's where the plastic comes from. That's why we do the plastic. And this is, once again, for people that may not have this job and who've never done a floor installation before. They don't know which trowel to buy. They don't know what size margin trowel to use, or, why do I use a rubber float, or why do I use this? And that's to make sure that you're putting the thin set over the cable without damaging it.
Yes. Yeah, awesome point. Plastic all the way if you can do it. All right, and then moving on to extra accessories that you can add. One of the first ones that the first one that comes up is the backup or replacement floor sensor. I always recommend it. It's an extra $12, which in the grand scheme of things is a pretty cheap insurance policy against anything going wrong in the future. It's pretty rare that the floor sensor, that the thermostat comes with a floor sensor already in the box ready to go. But it's good to get a backup, because it's rare that the thermostat's original sensor should go out. But if there should be a problem or it's faulty in any way, then you don't have to worry about, digging up the tile and having to put a second sensor in. You'll be able to just hook the backup sensor that's already been installed with the floor up, and you'll be able to be up and running again. The circuit check, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the circuit check and the electrical rough-in kits? Scott, I know you've worked with these a little bit more.
The circuit check you want, the circuit check is your eye in the sky as you're doing your installation, because you can't keep your, you need to test the system when you put it in. You need a digital ohm meter. There's no way around it. You need to go out and buy a digital ohm meter that you can set the ohms rating or ohms reader to a 200 range and the 220K range. You need to make sure you have one of those. You cannot do an installation without it. Good thing is they're $20 at any big box store. A lot of people, I have 3 of them at home. For what reason, I don't know. But so a lot of people have them. But the circuit check, what it does is it keeps track of your heating circuit in the floor while you're working over it, because you can't hold the meter on all the time and look in the meter and go, are my numbers good? Are my numbers good? You can't do that while you're installing it. So what you do is you put the circuit check on it, and the circuit check keeps track of a couple things. Inside your heating wire, there are actually 3 wires. 2 of them are heating and 1 of them is a ground. So what it's doing is it's always keeping track of the heating circuit to make sure that there isn't an open circuit. And it's also always keeping track to make sure that there's no connection between the ground and the heaters. And that would be a short. And it will go off if you get a short or if you have an open circuit. So that's what the circuit check is. You should have one. If you're doing a large room with 3 mats, you'd want to get 3 circuit checks, because that way you don't have to go, gee, which one am I working over now? Oh, I can't keep track of where did I put the circuit check. Just, If you have 3 mats, put 3 circuit checks on it. And if it comes down to the electrical rough-in kit, this electrical rough-in kit is with double conduits, is enough to install your floor per the National Electric Code, which means you have a conduit for the non-heating leads and you have a conduit for the low voltage sensor wire. The low voltage sensor wire and the heating lead, the non-heating leads, can never go in the same conduit. That's why there are 2 conduits there. A lot of localities don't require low voltage wires to go in conduit, so you can buy this conduit with kit with just 1 conduit instead of 2. However, in Chicago, they have a rule that even low voltage wires have to be going in conduit. And I guess they have a reason, because the whole city burned down 150 years ago. So there's
Yeah,
a
we're a
pretty
little
good
touchy about fire safety.
they're a little touchy about the entire city being gone. So they have a low voltage requirement. So the National Electric Code suggests you do this. And if you have any questions, this is going to save you a trip to any big box store, because this will allow you to install it per the National Electric Code. Your local code may be less stringent, and you would just follow that local code and buy the appropriate one.
Absolutely. And you know what, Scott, before we go back to, or, kind of move forward rather with, kind of how to move forward with your quote, I do want to touch on the controls. I forgot to mention, and I think it's important. It gives you the option to use your own control. Again, I was kind of thinking along the lines of a floor heating or a radiant heating specific control. However, if you're looking at doing an outside control like a Nest, we do offer integration kits. So that's the Nest adds a little bit more of a complication to the floor heating system, but it does work. We do have integration kits to integrate those kinds of third-party controls with our systems. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to walk you through some of the pros and cons of using those types of controls, as well as how to do the hooking up and the wiring for those.
But the thing you need to go in advance is realize that those thermostats are low voltage. Most home HVAC systems use 24-volt controls. We use 120 or 240, much higher voltage. So they will not naturally just jump in. You can't just put a Nest on the wall and hook our system up to it. Also, when you're choosing these third-party thermostats, these control room temperature. They have no floor sensor, a lot of them. A very, very few have a space for a floor sensor to go in. But why that's so important is because if you're using laminate, if you're using LVT, if you're using carpeting in the USA, those have a temperature requirement. You can't go over a certain temperature. A Nest has no way of knowing what the floor temperature is. It knows what the air temperature is, but not the floor. So it could be heating the floor up to 100 degrees, trying to make that room warm, but it's blown right past the 82 maximum and it's gone up to 100 or whatever it is. So keep in mind, if you have a product that has a maximum temperature, we do not recommend you use one of these low voltage thermostats unless it has a place for a sensor from the floor to hook into it. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes, absolutely. So like I said before, now we can move on to moving forward with your quote. So you can save this if you would like. You can save it by naming it and then making sure that you're logged into your account or creating an account so that you can come back to this, and you can actually use this system or use this tool to build a few different quotes. You can always go ahead and play around. Once you change anything up here, it's going to ask if you want to, save the quote and make some changes. So if you're going to be changing, subfloor and things like that, keep in mind your options may be changing. But you also can just, save this and then come back and do, maybe the temp zone flex roll instead of the cable and see the pricing differences there.
Or
this
spacing,
is really,
or wire spacing too. Let you play with the wire spacing, that you can decrease your cost up front and operating cost if you spread the wires out a little bit. But you don't want to spread the wires out 8 inches, because then you're not going to be heating anything and you'll have hot stripes down the floor. You have to keep in mind when you're doing this type of quoting is that the heating wire looks like this and the temperature spreads about 1.5 inches on either direction of it, all the way around. So you have 1.5 inches heated area all the way around there. If you put them 6 inches apart, you're going to have 2 areas here with a cold stripe down the middle. So keep that in mind. That's why most of our quoting is based on 3-inch spacing.
Yes, absolutely. It tends to be about the average that we use. So you can, like I said, save that system. You can share it. You can take this quote and you can send it to anyone. Just send them that link. This is really good, especially, if you're a homeowner and you want to share it to a contractor or vice versa. It's a good way to be able to kind of get this out there so you can start looking at your options. Your other choices to move forward are contacting us. You can send this directly to our engineering team and they'll be able to get started on your smart plan for you. Again, especially if you've included a layout or a drawing of the space, we'll be able to get that smart plan started and generally over to you by the next business day. Or you can reach out to us or have us reach out to you. We are more than happy to chat if you have questions on this, whether it's a big question, a small question. Just give us a call and we'll be able to, answer any questions that you might have or any concerns. And of course, your last option is adding to cart. This is going to basically just take you directly to your cart. This is a good option if you're going to, be putting heat in. I always say like a perfect square or rectangular space. Doesn't have a lot of cuts and turns. Doesn't have any kinds of furniture and things that you need to heat around. So if this is a very, very simple project, usually a pretty small, square, rectangular, easy project, then this can be a tool that you use to build your quote and actually just build your system and add it directly to your cart and check out. Every one of our purchases comes with the customized smart plans to show you how to actually properly install that product. Again, even if it's a very simple system, it's always a good idea to get those smart plans. They're free, they're quick. It's going to make your installation easier and it's going to make it a little bit less of a daunting task. So once your smart plan is approved, we can also get that order processed for you that way. So I believe that is all on this tool. Would you want to go over anything else here, Scott?
Well, we had a question come up from Jane or Cam. It looks like Jane. Is there a product available to use in a large shower on the floor and on the shower seat when covered in a solid surface product like quartz or Decton? So, Jane, that's a great question. I'm going to talk about that right now. We have our TempZone product, either cables or mats or shower mats. We have actually mats that are designed in common shower sizes and also bench sizes for common size benches that are they are UL listed and approved for wet locations like showers. So yes, we have our TempZone product, which is available to heat shower floors and shower seats. So we can heat just like that. We show that picture right there. We can heat that entire room and then heat that shower area too. So the shower floor mats, there are common sizes. If you're talking about a really big shower, then it would simply just get us a drawing of the shower floor, the dimensions, show us where the drain is, show us what kind of drain it is, and then we will design around that. And yes, you can put that right in there. So great question, Jane.
Absolutely. Yeah, our shower floor kits are very, very fun. I like the idea of just rolling it out and then you have a nice warm shower floor. Super simple. So we are good there. Okay, so again, like I said, is there anything else on that tool specifically or even just anywhere on the website you want to go over, Scott?
No, I just think that's a great tool for people to use. But a lot of times I'll be talking to customers at the beginning and they'll go, well, I don't have this really fancy plan, or I don't have a drawing from my architect. You don't need. Oh, hi everybody. I'm sure you didn't want to see that, but
I'm changing. Sorry.
it's okay. Good thing I brushed my hair today. But anyway, the thing is, I just dazzled myself on the video there, so I freaked out. I'm sorry about that.
You're all distracted now.
I'm very scared. It's a very scary thing to see. But you don't need to have a perfect drawing. Just make a sketch on it on a napkin or on a whatever, on a piece of paper. Take a picture of it with your phone and email it to us. That's good enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't need to be pretty. We've gotten them on the back of pizza boxes and plywood. As long as the dimensions are accurate, that's what matters. So
I'd like to let people think about questions, because we always send out a questionnaire before we do this to get questions from people who have some things that we want to answer for them. So one of them is a question from Matt. And Matt says, can I do an entire house with your product? The answer to that is yes. Then that was easy. The next part is, I sound like Paul Lynde. Then the next part isn't so easy because he wants to do 2 zones, upstairs and downstairs. And I'm going to tell you why you don't want to do that. You can do our floor heating everywhere in the house. The best thing about electric floor heating is to put a thermostat in each space that you want to heat, because if you have a bedroom, and let's say you have a 12-bedroom house. Mine's 13, but I'm just going to dumb it down a little bit for the peasants here. But anyway, if we have a 13-bedroom house, odds are that all 13 of those bedrooms aren't going to be full. I'm being facetious here, people. Don't think I'm that way. But there's no way I've got 13 bedrooms that are full, unless it's the holidays maybe, right? So there's no reason for me to be heating all of those bedrooms when there's nobody in them. That's the great thing about electric floor heat, is you put a thermostat in the room you're in, and then you set that for comfort in that particular space. So yes, we'd love to have you heat your entire house, but we'd want you to have 13 zones instead of 1, because the reason why is not only are certain rooms not being used and are being used, but no 2 rooms are exactly the same. Let's say that you have 13 bathrooms, and one of those bathrooms upstairs has no external walls, so no walls open to the outdoor cold, and there's a heated floor below it, and because I have a 4 or 5 story house, so there's heated floors above it and below it. So we don't have to worry about heat loss in that room. But if I put that bathroom with no heat loss on the same thermostat as the great room that's all windows and has a 3-story room, that room has got a lot of heat loss. I don't want that room on the same control as my little bathroom that's 3 by 3 in the hallway, because if I put the thermostat in the big room, that big room is going to be very comfortable. But guess what that little bathroom is down the hall? It's going to be sweltering in there because there's no heat loss there. There's a ton of heat loss where the thermostat is. And let's do it vice versa. Let's say I put my thermostat in that bathroom. That bathroom is going to be nice and cozy. That big room with all those windows and the skylights and the 3-story high, that room is going to be cold. That's why you don't want to do 1 control per house or 1 control per floor, because all the rooms are not identical and they will heat differently. And they're all not going to be used at the same time. So that's a great question, Matt. We get that question a lot. I want to heat this with 1 thermostat. And the answer to that is no, you don't. Because you're really not going to be getting the benefits of saving money, saving electricity, because you don't have to heat where you're not. And you're not heating a bathroom that's 1,000 degrees and then walking into this cold room because it's got all these windows. So great question, Matt. And I hate to go off the deep end there, but I like to give you some background as why we talk about that and why we say that, because we know we've been doing this a long time, and we talk to people, go, this room is so hot and this room is so cold. Well, where's your thermostat? It's in the little room, and the big room is cold all the time. Why is that? Well, I can tell you why, but they just didn't know ahead of time. That's what you can do with these different controls. So that's what's so good about it. So I hope that answered your question, Matt. And the next one is, what is the maximum floor area that you can heat on 1 dedicated 15 amp under laminate or tile? From Roger. And the thing is, what you'd want to do is and that's a great question, because our controls can switch 15 amps in 120 volts or 240 volts. They are only switches. Whatever you send into them is what is sent out of them. So when they turn on like a light switch, if you're sending 240 in, 240 comes out. A thermostat, when we say is dual voltage, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because we get this disconnect all the time on the phones, is I bought your thermostat, it says dual voltage, so I'm just going to send 240 to it, and my heating product is 120. That's fine, right? And the answer to that is no. If you have a 120 volt heating product, you need to send 120 volts to the thermostat, because the thermostat is simply a switch, on or off. The thermostat, and I had this question yesterday, the thermostat does not regulate temperature by regulating voltage. So it doesn't go 120 volts down to 60, down to 40, down to 30, and back up to 80 volts. It's 120 volts on or off, 240 volts on or off. It's just the amount of time that it's on is what allows it to control the temperature of your floor. So keep in mind, our thermostats can control 15 amps. You'd want to put them on a 20 amp breaker, because if you use a 15 amp breaker with a 15 amp control, you can really only heat about 12 amps worth, because the National Electric Code says you can only use 80% of what the circuit is rated at. So this is where a great question, Roger, is you'd want a 20 amp circuit breaker with a 15 amp control, and that'll allow you to control about 150 square feet in 120 volts, or to allow you to heat up to about a 240 square feet on a 240 volt circuit. It's really easy to remember: 240 volts, 240 square feet, 120 volt, 120 square feet, and a ballpark. Could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your wire spacing, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But hopefully that answers your question, Roger. And that was a great question. You can only use 80% of the rated amount of the breaker, which you're taking away the ability of your thermostat in that case.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. All right, awesome. Are there any other questions or anything we can go over?
And I think Jane entered the same
Yes.
question again. Okay, all right, then got it.
Looks like, yeah, we went over that. And again, if you have questions on that, Jane, if you want to, chat more about the specific shower sizes and everything, just reach out. We are more than happy to, kind of work with you and see, what your project's going to need, and we can help you out there. So next, this is kind of all we really got. So thank you so much for joining us. We would love to have you at our next webinar. This is going to be March 10th. Again, it's a Thursday at 1 Central, right here on Crowdcast. It's going to be about cutting down installation time for heated tile floors. So obviously time is money, and we want to help you save as much of that time as possible. So we're going to be going over some really great tips on that installation time.
Yeah, because we were talking about price here, a lot about price. But the next one is going to be about what if I'm in a hurry, and
Right.
we don't concentrate so much on price. It's what do I need to do to get this done today?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be a very fun one for sure. And you can join us for our daily trainings if you would like. We'd love to have you. These are often hosted by, I host a lot of them, Scott hosts a lot of them. Again, right here on Crowdcast. And these are at least once a day, often twice a day. Just short little daily trainings that we go over different topics, often anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. So feel free to pop on in, or we'll learn a little bit more. And if you have any questions, even if they're not on that day's topic, just feel free to reach out, and we would be, ask questions while you are watching those trainings, and we can answer them for you.
And they're on Facebook too. So if you're watching on Crowdcast,
Correct.
we also do them at the same time on Facebook too.
Yes, absolutely. Scott, can you tell us about our monthly promotion?
Oh, I guess so. We're doing 20% off of the Environ Easy Mats, and Environ Easy Mats are great for heating. They are the quickest method of installation possible, because these simply go either between a carpet pad and carpet in the US, not in Canada, or they will go between a pad and a laminate. And you simply roll them out. You roll the non-heating lead over the wall, up the wall, and put a thermostat on it. And it literally can take you 30 seconds to install like 30 square feet. It's very, very quick when you're heating the correct thing. The thing to keep in mind about Environ is Environ never attaches to anything, and nothing ever attaches to Environ. It's a floating installation.
Awesome. Yes, good points. Thank you. That's a really good way to look at it. And we really value your feedback. After this is over, we're going to send you an email asking about your experience during today's webinar. We love hearing your comments. We'd love to get suggestions on what we can do better, suggestions on other webinar topics you'd like to see us do. And of course, I don't know about you, Scott, I like compliments. So if you enjoyed it, just tell us how awesome we are.
Yeah, when you receive as few compliments as I do, you really, really value them. So we would love that.
I think I compliment you a lot. All right. And again, we want to answer any questions you have. So please reach out if we can be of any assistance. You can give us a call. You can email us. We are available, obviously, 24/7 on the website. You can learn anything you want at any time. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and you just need to know about floor heating, feel free to visit our website, visit our Facebook page. And also, one thing I do want to point out on our website, we do have all of our contact information, as well as during business hours, we offer a chat feature that is staffed by all of our actual customer service and sales team members. So it's actually us. I'm on there a lot. I think Scott is. So it's actually us talking to you. It's not some robot or some AI. So if you just have some quick questions you want to go over, feel free to visit us there as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of great installation videos too. So if you're
Yes.
curious about installing LVT, it would be fantastic to watch the LVT installation video. So that's why it was so cool that you showed us that, Lynn, at the very beginning, where those videos are.
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you hopefully next month. But in the meantime, as always, stay warm.
And be radiant.